YouTubers. Well, I hadn't done a Thoughts on the Road in a while, and now that I have moved again, I figured it was probably time to do one. Let you know what's coming up, what's going on. I am now in just outside of the city of Kingman, Arizona, which is about halfway up the state and still in the west half of the state. But up in the hills, we're up at 3,500 feet altitude, so it's a bit cooler. It was just starting to get hot down there outside of Quartzsite. But I had to leave. They closed the area April 15th. So it was getting pretty empty. A couple of weeks before they closed the area, I shot a little drone footage to compare it to how it was when I first got there. And as you can see, here's the before. And you can still see a lot of RVs out there. And then here is about a week and a half or so before I left. And it's getting a lot sparser, not that many. And they really started to flow out of there last week. By the time I was ready to go, there was just a handful of RVs left out there. It wasn't really all that hot. We hadn't hit triple digits in Fahrenheit yet. And I probably could have stayed another couple of weeks. Probably could have stayed the rest of the month of April if they had the area open, but they closed it up, so I had to leave. So I came up here to Jeannie and Tony's place up outside of Kingman, and settled in here. I'm going to be here for a little while until I decide what I'm doing in June. More about that later. I was hoping to catch a good bloom down there. It's pretty neat when the desert blooms. If we get a good rain, the normally sparse looking kind of wasteland looking desert that you can see here with just rocky ground and the brittle looking dry brownish plants, they all turn green. The entire desert just turns green after a rain in the spring. And then over the course of about a week or two, the plants all bloom and there's flowers everywhere. And I looked and looked and looked. We only got a little tiny bit of rain, and I only found one flower. And I think this is a plant called an octillo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But it was the only flower that I found. None of the other plants were blooming. I was really bummed about that. I was hoping to get some colorful shots. Up here at 3,500 feet, now I'm moving back in time as far as the progression of the seasons go, because you move up in altitude, the temperature is lower. And in fact, it's about 10 to 12 degrees cooler here, Fahrenheit degrees. But there's more plant life here. As you go up in altitude, it changes, you know. And if I go up even higher in altitude, there's pine trees up on the mountains. And we might get to see some of that with something I'm planning on doing here in the next month. But there are flowers here. There's more plants, so you do find some blooms. There's this neat little bush of purple flowers I took a picture of the other day when I was walking down the road. So, you know, it's a little more active here. And also there's more wildlife activity. I haven't heard the coyotes but once so far. I've only been here just a few days. But spring is still encroaching. Like I say, you go up in altitude, everything is sort of moved back on the schedule. You know, whatever was happening down there is going to happen here about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. And in fact, I think this week we're going to get a rain, probably a pretty good rain. So with the temperature coming up and a good rain, it's possible that things will really start to kick off here as far as the wildlife and the plant life goes. And I'm hoping so, because I do want to record some stuff while I'm here and take a lot of pictures and photography. But I'm not going to do another ambient recording, I don't think, unless it just gets acoustically really interesting when all the wildlife wakes up for their spring activity. I mean, I'm hearing a dawn chorus of sorts. The birds that's around sunrise when they're all really active. Out here, there's a field next to the property, and I hear a lot of birds in the mornings, so I might set the head up there by the fence line before sunrise, and just let it record and see what I get. But anyway, I'm here now. I have ordered a bunch of stuff now that I have a mail drop here, and one project I want to do is I want to do windscreens for the binaural head, and I got a plan for that. I'm going to make these dome-shaped windscreens that'll go over the ears, magnetically mounted to the head. So I've got some fresh 3D printer filament ordered. I have filament, but it's about 5 to 6 years old. And even though I'm predominantly in dry areas, it's become so brittle I can hardly get it to feed through the printer without breaking. So I've ordered a couple of new spools of filament, and I'm going to be 3D printing the frames for those windscreens. I've got a design in my head. So we're going to do that. I need that actually, because when I go up into the forested area for something else I'm going to talk about, I do plan on recording a real dawn chorus, because that's where the birds are. Where the trees are, that's where the birds are. So if I get to a nice area with a lot of trees, I should get a really cool and amazing acoustic recording. So crossing my fingers that works out. The other thing that's on the way is I talked to Harry at ZachTech, contacted me actually, and we've emailed. And his prototype boards for the CW Flea transmitter are populated and working, and he's sending me a couple. So they're on the way from, I think he's in Sweden. Hopefully they come through okay. Things aren't exactly stable over in that area. But those are on the way. So as soon as they arrive, I'm going to play around with it and tweak the software a little bit. He's mentioned one bug that needs to be fixed, which if he hasn't already done it, I'll do it. But I'm going to review his version of the Flea and make a few contacts with it, show it to you. I'll probably 3D print a case for it too. And I might even take it along on a Parks on the Air activation I'm thinking about doing, which is also coming up. So yeah, that's on the way. That's got me excited. My build of it, by the way, I know people want to see me build it, but honestly, guys, with my declining health, I can't solder reliably anymore. It's especially on small PC boards. I'm just physically losing that ability. My hands aren't stable. My eyes, I can see details, but I can't focus on them mentally. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to talk about that. It's getting bad. It's getting really hard for me to do that kind of work, and it sucks. But getting old, you lose things as you get old. You know, and I've just been losing things over the last 20 years. So what else? Summer plans. Oh yeah, there is a park up on the Halapai Mountain. And that mountain is, this is a view outside of my window that I shot yesterday of the mountain. And I really enjoyed watching the clouds. In fact, if you really pay attention, you can see there's some static clouds that form where the updraft of the wind coming up over the mountain hits the, condenses when it hits the cloud layer. And some clouds just sort of stay put while all the rest go by. And it's pretty cool. But up on that mountain, there is a county park that has spots for RVs. And I might go up there and pay for a couple of days and do a Parks on the Air activation. And that would be a good field test with the CW Flea. And then I'd also do sideband. So that might be coming up. And I'll let you guys know through the Facebook page and on Patreon what day I'm planning on doing that, and when you can watch for the activation to appear. Never done a POTA activation. Got to do a little research on it, learn what's all involved, and probably sign up and register with the website and do all that first. But I'm planning on doing that. You know, I want to go up there. I want to see the park. There's trees up there. I want to see if maybe I get a good recording, although there's lots of other RVs. It's a county park outside of Kingman, which is a fairly big city. So I think that honestly, I'll be lucky to even get a spot to go up there. I'll have to call them and see how busy they are. But that's going to have to be maybe next month because it's just too cold. That's up around 6,000 feet or so. So like right now, it's pretty darn chilly up there. And I'm not going up there until it gets a little bit warmer. But I'll be doing that, and that'll be an adventure. That'll also be like a trial run for the binaural head in a different environment, more acoustically rich environment. The campfire video that I did was my first trial run with the head. It was really just sort of a test to go through the process of editing the audio and putting the whole thing together. And it worked out pretty well, I think. I was pretty pleased with the results, you know, and even the quiet sounds, like there was a coyote pack a couple of times that were way, way far away, that even with my ears I could barely hear them, but they're there on the recording, right around 36 minutes or so. I think I put it in the text on the screen that hardly anybody read, because I've had questions that were answered by the text I put on the screen, but that happens. Of course, maybe they were just listening with their eyes closed, like they should have been doing. Yeah, that was kind of a trial run, and it worked out, and I'm happy with it. And it seems like from the comments on the video, it's pretty well received. People enjoy it. They get the concept of it. They get the idea of having this ambient recording. I've been listening to a lot of field recordings. I found a great streaming website called NTS that is an internet radio stream that's streaming nothing but user-submitted field recordings. And I'm finding it fascinating. When I take my afternoon nap, I always put it on, and then I'll just lay back and I'll listen. And there have been recordings that sounded like they were in a small village on the edge of a jungle somewhere in South America, you know, and different urban settings and different nature settings and different places around the world, different birds that I hadn't heard before, and different animals that I hadn't heard before. There was one that was a farm, I think, a sheep or cattle farm. And there were chickens and sheep off in the distance, and birds, and all kinds of other interesting sounds. And it's kind of like being there, you know. It's like virtual reality for the ears. I'll lay back, close my eyes, and just listen, and I can see it in my head. I can imagine being there. And that's the kind of thing I want to do, is I want to produce that type of an ambient experience as I go places. And speaking of going places, travel plans this summer. June will be the deciding month. Somewhere in June it's going to start to get hot here, and I'm going to want to head east and visit my family. Now, with the world kind of destabilizing a little bit with what's going on over in Europe, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, that's messing with energy prices, that's messing with all kinds of stuff. And fuel prices, when you drive a vehicle that gets on average 5 miles to the gallon, that could be a deciding factor on what I do. I have two options I'm considering. The one that I really want to do is I want to take the RV about mid-June and start heading east and hit a couple of state parks in New Mexico, and then maybe northern Texas, and then maybe go north up through the plains states, you know, and just hit state parks and government land where I can, and then just do videos along the way, radio stuff. Who knows, you know, just, more ambient recordings, photography, video, drone footage, you know, and just really document the different places that I stop, and document them in the way that answers the questions that I always have when I see somebody else do a travel video about a place. I always have questions that I hear other people ask too that they're never answered in the video, you know, and I want to talk about the things that people want to know about a place. You know, how easy is it to get a big RV in there? You know, what's the land like? Do you have problems with rodents? What's the nature look like? What does it sound like? You know, what's the sky look like? What's the place like? You know, really present it, you know, and so I want to do that as I go, as well as whatever projects I work on along the way. There'll be radio stuff. You know, it'll be a good chance to field test end-fed half-wave antenna versus how easy is it to put up a doublet, you know, with the trees, stuff like that. I want to do things like that along the way, and then visit my family and friends, and then beeline back here towards the end of August to get ready for the move back south for the winter loop, because I definitely want to get back here to the desert for winter and go down there to Yuma again. I haven't seen snow or sub-freezing temperatures in 3.5 years, and I will be happy if I never see them again. So that is what I would like to do this summer. But depending upon the situation, you know, I mean, if things are really going to pot and are going to crap, and the fuel prices are way up, what I might end up doing is just staying here until the end of July, and then ride the Amtrak passenger train across the country to visit them. And if I do that, I'll do a travel vlog of the train ride. I'll take you guys along on the train ride, and that could be interesting in and of itself too, you know. I'd like to do like some time-lapse video from the observation car, stuff like that, you know. So those are the two options that I'm weighing. I hope that things work out, that I can do the first one, that I can take the RV and travel all that way, and that would be a much richer experience with a lot more content that I think would be interesting for the channel. Okay, I've talked long enough for this one. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.